Hey guys, you're watching Team APS, and in today's video, we're going to give you 50 Yu-Gi-Oh decks that you can build for under $50. Alright, let's hop in. For Hire is an archetype that I always recommend to beginners. It's extremely easy to play, the monsters summon themselves out of the hand and then get beneficial effects as you summon more for Hires. I think my favorite part about this deck is that not only is it accessible, but it can actually tech a lot of other cards in as well.
SHIRANUI are an archetype of fire zombies that get effects when they're banished, and when they synchro summon. Their synchro monsters are very large and can end games quickly, and they have really cool lore.
SALAMANGREATs are one of the most affordable and consistent decks you can get out right now. The boss monsters Heat Leo and Sunlight Wolf may not seem like they're that good, but what really gives them that kick is their excellent spells and traps. Most likely, Rage and Roar.
Megalith's a new ritual archetype of rock monsters. They're not that great now, but they're actually getting more support in upcoming sets, and they can work really well with cards like Block Dragon as well.
Zombie World is a deck that really wasn't a deck until 2018 when it got a structure deck. They got access to Doom King Beradrock, who combined with Zombie World would just halt all your opponent's plays, which then leaves your other zombies to help you gain advantage and then put damage on the board.
DDs are a high combo deck with a very high ceiling. And beyond that high ceiling, they also take advantage of every summoning mechanic that Yu-Gi-Oh offers right now. So whether you want links, fusion, synchro, it doesn't matter. DD is one of those decks you can pick up for that.
PRANKIDS are a really unique mixed hybrid of link monsters and fusion monsters. All the monsters float themselves out of the deck whenever you use them for those purposes, and their fusion and link monsters have some very powerful effects, like nuking your opponent's board in the middle of their own turn. Plus, they have some of the most unique artwork in the game.
Time Thieves are a TCG exclusive archetype whose effects revolve around taking cards from the top of your opponent's deck and using them as fuel to get their own effects. They originally only had Redoer as an Xyz monster, but they recently got Perpetua and have seen plenty of success in our metagame.
MARINCESS may look small and innocent, but those monsters have the ability to link climb very fast. And as you get up to the higher link ratings, you start gaining more and more advantage. And also when that comes, you get access to MARINCESS Wave straight from your hand.
Probably the strongest ritual deck in Yu-Gi-Oh history, NEKROZ are a great anti-meta strategy, but they don't play like it. They're fast, they're aggressive, they're consistent, and now that they've all been reprinted, they're very easy to get your hands on.
Fire Fists are an archetype of fire beast warrior monsters that utilize their fire formation spells to gain advantage over their opponent. And with their new support they recently got, they now do a little bit of everything, because they have boss monsters that cover all the major summoning types.
KARAKURI is one of the fastest synchro decks you will ever meet. And I mean, this deck can synchro spam. It starts off by changing their own monster positions from attack to defense, to changing yours, to bringing out big synchro monsters. And when you change battle positions then, you start gaining hand advantage.
The LAIR Darkness strategy basically focuses on tributing your opponent's monsters as long as they're being treated as dark monsters. We've got a really powerful boss monster in Darkest Diabolos, they have easy access to normal trap cards, and the deck can actually combine really well with other existing archetypes.
Dream Mirrors are an archetype of light and dark monsters that have a really cool mechanic of switching between two different field spells and then summoning different monsters to just gain advantage over your opponent and beat them down.
Orcus are dark machine monsters that gain their effects from banishing themselves from the graveyard to special summon more Orcus monsters. From there, you use those to make the big Orcus links, Galatea, Longishu, things like that. And then you can use those to recycle your banish to gain their effects.
Darklords are huge, beefy monsters that are easy to summon out to the field. The deck's got lots of draw power, and all the monsters' abilities let them reuse their spell and traps by shuffling them back into the deck. Just be careful of your life points though. But they do have a cool new link monster coming out as well.
Gravekeepers are an infamous deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! They use their field spell Necro Valley to stun their opponent and not let them have access to their graveyard. And they have their fusion monster, Supernaturalist, who can get really big and just swing for game.
Floppers are a very underrated deck that gains tons of advantage by fusion summoning. And the more hand advantage they gain, the more they can fuse. And as they do, they put out big boss monsters like Kraken and Wolf, who can attack you multiple times, end your opponent's life points real quick.
Dragunities are a long-standing archetype. They use synchro monsters. They've actually gotten a lot of support recently, and they can even use cards like Dragunity Romulus, which is new, to quickly search Dragon Ravine. And this is one of the decks that actually has a little bit of potential moving into April in the Master Rule 5 revision.
Magical Musketeers are an archetype of monsters that allow you to use their themed spells and traps as hand traps during your opponent's turn. They recently got Magical Musketeer Max, who even lets you search your monsters or your spells so it fits in just about any situation.
6 Sam might be that deck where you might be trying to figure out why it's still around, but that's because they recently got a link monster that's able to search their keycard gateway. And with gateway on the field and you get all those counters, some nutty loops can happen.
SIMORGH is an archetype of wind and dark winged beast monsters. A lot of their monsters let them summon themselves from the graveyard as long as your opponent has spell and traps, and then it's easy to tribute summon the bigger ones. Plus, you'll get rid of all of your opponent's spell and traps, so it's a great deck to play if you want a strong control strategy.
Vampires are a zombie archetype that pay life points in order to steal your opponent's monsters. They also have an excellent card in Vampire Fräulein who works in any zombie deck because she's a hand trap that summons to the board, and then you pay life points to make any zombie in battle gain those life points as attack.
SHADDOLLs are that fan fusion favorite deck that has recently gotten way stronger. Construct has just been booped up back to 3. They have a new structure deck, and beyond that, when you fusion summon with the monsters, you also gain effects. It's just a very reoccurring deck.
Synchrons are Yusei Fudo's ace archetype. They're great for summoning both the Junk and Warrior Synchro monsters as well as the Stardust Synchro monsters. With Master Roll 5 just around the corner, cards like Junk Speeder are going to get a lot better, and we've even got Christian Halka Fibrax about to release, and that's going to put this deck definitely over the top.
Odd Eyes and Performer Pals are classic pendulum archetypes. They use their boss monster, Odd Eyes Vortex, to just continuously negate cards. They have their excellent, I do mean excellent card, Performer Pal Sorcerer, to just pop your scales, get more cards. And they even got a new card very recently, Performer Pal Popper Up, that essentially lets you get a second pendulum summon. It's pretty great.
Noble Knights are warriors that get protection and effects based off equipped spell cards. You use these monsters to go into their Exceeds, and their Exceeds can get the Noble Arms back from the graveyard. These cards grant them all kind of protection, all kind of effects. And the best part is Zode. You can really abuse it.
GOUKIs are a really famous link engine deck. All the monsters search when they're sent from the field to the graveyard. They synchronize really well with cards like Isolde and other link monsters, and they even combine really well with other decks. Plus, they're all common.
Dinosaurs are one of the most consistent archetypes in Yu-Gi-Oh! With access to Soul Eating Oviraptor, Fossil Dig, and Double Evolution Pill, they can very easily get into their big boss monsters, swing for big damage, and they can do it every turn.
If you want a fun, affordable going second deck, CRUSADIA might be the thing for you. Very simple to do. It link climbs until the boss monster equal max, and the smaller monsters that's in the main deck doubles attack, grants piercing, all kind of things. Quick OTK deck.
Even though Pancratops itself got limited, the Dino Wrestler archetype is extremely easy to get your hands on, all the cards are common, and they focus on battle damage and manipulation, and they're all really easy to summon. They even work with existing dinosaur support.
Thunder Dragons are a unique archetype in Yu-Gi-Oh! They are a series of light thunder monsters that are reminiscent of the original Thunder Dragon. They like to fuse and get banished and gain more advantage, and they're even getting more support in the future.
TRICKSTARS are those light fairies that you may remember from the infamous Droll and Reincarnation combo. Basically, all it revolves around is small monsters that's going to do chip away burn damage. And that's your win condition.
Gladiator Beasts are a fan favorite older deck. They've recently gotten a link monster in Test Panther, and if you like using cards like Gladiator Beast Tamer Elder, you can spam out fusion monsters for days.
LUNALIGHTS are an anime archetype, and they're supposed to do a lot of fusion summoning, and they ladder up and they become huge. But they've seen more success as probably the best rank 4 engine in the game. Using cards like Kaleido Chick, Yellow Martin, and Tiger, they can just spit out level 4s over and over again, and the next Master Rule coming up, they're gonna be crazy.
MEKK-KNIGHTS are an archetype of high level, high attack monsters that special summon themselves to any zone with 2 or more cards in their column. Besides that, they've also become one of the most splashable engine in a lot of decks used right now. But on their own, you can kind of say they're a control beatdown deck.
TRAPTRIX are a great control deck that focus on using trap hole cards. They're actually really consistent, they've got a lot of monster effect variety, and thanks to TRAPTRIX Sarah, which is easy to make, it's very simple for the deck to get going and start hampering your opponent.
AROMAGE are one of my favorite archetypes in Yu-Gi-Oh! They're a series of plant monsters that gain effects when you have higher life points than your opponent, and they even gain effects when you gain life points. So as you kind of steamroll your opponent in life points, you also end up steaming them in advantage as well. They've gotten great support in the Aromaseraphes, and even got Aromaseraphie Marjoram, who is kind of their big boss monster now.
SUBTERRORS are one of the few flip decks still around. Their KARAKURI gives them crazy advantage, especially when combined with Hidden City. And the thing that backs them up the most is that they're pretty much able to run any floodgate in the game.
Rockets are one of my personal favorite decks. They actually work by getting targeted by link monsters, then destroying themselves. You can use a lot of common Dark Dragon support monsters, and they have the Boral Sword, Borreload, and Borreguard boss monsters themselves.
Harpies are a deck from the Yu-Gi-Oh anime. They can quickly summon themselves to the board, they can pop spells and traps, and even make rank 4 XZs. What's not to love?
Burn the Abyss is literally the deck that never dies. It's a bunch of level 3 fiends that can special summon themselves and they float. They go into their boss monsters, Dante or Cherubini, which can send them to the grave for a cost and activate more effects.
Nailed it. Tenyi is an archetype of all rare monsters. They're worms, and they work really well with normal or just non-effect monsters. In fact, Vishuda has been used in a lot of other decks, but within the same archetype itself, this deck can be quite potent on its own.
Paleozoics are a series of traps that when they're in the graveyard can summon themselves when you activate other traps on the field. They give you easy access to cards like Totally Awesome and just work well in all kinds of water-based strategies.
Cyber Dragons are an age-old machine deck. They're great for going second, great for quickly OTKing your opponent, and now that Cyber Emergency has gotten reprinted, it's extremely affordable.
Pendulums, but really it's more variable than that, because these are mythical beasts, pendulum magicians, and Endymion monsters that you can use fairly interchangeably. They don't step on each other's toes, and it just ratchets up so much advantage. These cards have gotten Pendulum through just about every format. Guys like to use trap cards to control their opponent and really just not let them play. And when push comes to shove, they can even link summon to put damage on the board.
Gem Knights. I'm gonna tell you something about Gem Knights. Now, Gem Knights are absolutely the best FTK deck ever made. They abuse cards like Block Dragon, Fusion Summon, big rock monsters. And on top of that, I really think it's y'all fault Brain Fusion got hit. Cause to me,
So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Those are 50 Yu-Gi-Oh decks that you can build for right at around $50 or less. If you enjoyed, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, leave some comments with your suggestions for other budget decks you can make. And without further ado, I'll see you guys in the next one. Pass turn.
This video is sponsored by Famisafe. It's 2020 and I think we can agree the internet has never been more fun. But it is 2020 and the internet can be a dangerous and harmful place for children. That's why for parents, there is Famisafe. As adults, we get to enjoy YouTube and all that it offers with no harm, but there's plenty of content that is still harmful for young children, like violence, drugs, and adult situations. That's why on the Google Play Store and Apple's App Store, you can download Famisafe's YouTube Control app, which lets you check what your kids are watching, block videos or channels you find harmful, and receive alerts when they search potentially dangerous keywords. So if you're interested in Famisafe, you can find a link in the description to get all the information.